Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to this episode of Coach Caris Itchy Bitchy and Guests podcast. Hi, straight to the point today. Today I am going to speak about another midlife perimenal symptom, anxiety. Yeah, so I'm going to speak about this today because my last podcast I spoke about low mood, and anxiety is another perimenopause symptom that I struggled with massively, and I'm not an anxious person, so I felt like it actually floored me and came from nowhere. So I thought I would speak about it today, maybe try and give you a bit of perspective and give you some top tips as well. I've got some notes and everything, done loads of research because yeah, this is what helped me, and that's all I am doing in these podcasts, is sharing mine and my clients' experience. So, anxiety. First of all, a bit of perspective, right? Anxiety is just fear. That's it. See? Don't need to over dramatise it. This is it. Right, so for example, I have a fear of heights. I have a fear of so many things, right? But we'll stick to the actual things that I've justified in my head. I have a fear of heights, all right? So, if somebody said to me, let's go and do Go Ape, right? Which I've done twice, by the way, and I would do it again. But if somebody said to me, the only reason I would do it again now is because I know how to manage anxiety, and I know that if I don't do things, I'm not going to grow and I'm going to be stuck in my comfort zone. So I would totally do it, right? So I've learned all of that over the last couple of years. But initially, if somebody said to me, let's go and do Go Ape, I'd be like, fuck no, absolutely not, right? But then just say, so I've learned a wee bit and I know that I need to get out of my comfort zone, so I'll say, yes, let's go and do Go Ape. So we'll get to Go Ape, right? We'll drive up, get the car park or whatever, go into the little shoppy place and buy the tickets. Right, now as soon as I buy those tickets, or somebody buys the tickets, or I see those tickets, right, this shit is real. So my body will instantly start reacting to that. I'll start possibly shaking. I'll definitely be sweating. I'm not going to be as dramatic to say hyperventilating, but there would be a lot of shortness of breath going on, right? So that's my brain basically saying, what the fuck are you doing? You're going to die, all right? When I know if I take the time and think it through, I am not going to die. I'm going to be clipped in. I'm going to be perfectly safe. Everything is going to be cool. I'm going to get... For the first 10 minutes, I might feel slightly stressed. My heart rate will be elevated. I'll be sweating. I will be actually questioning my life's choices. But the more I do it, so the more trees that I move on to and swings that I do, right, my heart rate will start to calm down and I'll start to believe that I've got this and I'm totally cool. And it could maybe actually be fun, right? So anxiety and stuff, right, and the way your body reacts, like physically, that's your brain putting in its safety system, right? So it's just fear. But when we are that anxious, or when we can't control the anxiety and it stops us doing stuff, that is obviously when we stop living and we're just existing, and that's not cool. All right, so I have a fear of heights. Don't actually know why. I'm sure it was something to do with my childhood. Can't think of anything. Nothing bad happened, like I didn't end up dangling upside down in a tree for my foot or anything like that. Don't know, just don't like it. Even jumping on the bar at CrossFit used to give me the fear. And again, I'm over that now, it's totally cool. Jumping on a box was awful, but you just have to try and keep working it, right? So anxiety is just a fear, right? It's about a situation. Now, you may have been in that situation previously, and you may not have been in that situation. Like, I've never been in a situation that I can remember that I was high up and that I nearly died. Obviously I didn't die, but I can't think of anything that set that off. So I'm assuming it's my perception and my perceived idea of what was actually going to happen. Yeah, so it's just fear, right? We can control fear. It's like habits, and it's like what I bang on about all the time, right? We have so much more control over how we're feeling than than we ever think we do, basically. And it's not until you learn that and understand that and realise that you can work on it to make anxiety disappear that, well, disappear's the wrong word. We need, sorry, I'll rephrase that, right? We need anxiety. It's what keeps us safe. If there was no anxiety in the world and you got yourself into an actual dangerous situation, right, you would die or something bad would happen to you. So we need anxiety, but our body and our brain needs time to process whether it is an actual fear that's going to kill you and it's a justifiable anxiety, or whether it's something that we've got a preconceived idea about. So we want to give ourselves time, and I realise if you're getting chased down the road by a lion, we're not going to have time. But a lot of social situations that we're anxious about in midlife, we have time to actually analyse that before we get there and think it through and come up with a plan and calm ourselves down. All right, so we need anxiety. It's like we need adrenaline. We don't want that ever to leave us. But to fight your fears, you must be willing to face them, right? I'm not even going to say I'm over my fear of heights, because I'm not. But I would never have been able to jump on the bar at CrossFit or jump in a box at CrossFit if I hadn't have faced that fear in practice. So it's about putting little steps in place and constantly putting yourself in situations that you're uncomfortable in, that are relevant and that are just going to help you. Because fear is quite often it's a learned behaviour. All right? So, escape and avoidance, what we will find is we will automatically not put ourselves in that situation that gives us a fear, right? So, for example, I wouldn't really ever want to go and climb a ladder up a tree. Absolutely not. I absolutely would not want to do that. But that short term, so escaping that and avoiding that situation is for the short term, and yes, it provides short term relief, but it's not going to help my anxiety in the long term. It's just going to make that anxiety about that situation worse. Yeah, true story, by the way. Anyway, the most natural, and you're not some kind of weirdo, by the way. If you are anxious about something and have the fear about something and you want to avoid that situation, you're not some kind of weirdo. That's actually quite normal. It's very, very normal in the world of psychology. I'm not a psychologist, but in the world of psychology, it is very, very normal. It's human nature. It's your brain keeping you safe, basically. Yeah? So, each time you have a positive or a negative experience, right, your brain remembers that. It remembers the actual situation, but it usually remembers what you did before that as well. So if you start stressing about a situation like 24 hours before said situation arrives, your brain will remember that whole 24 hours and before the actual situation. And if you do go into the situation, your brain's still going to remember that you were anxious about it 24 hours in advance. So next time you're going to be in that same situation, you're going to have to fight like doubly hard to try and calm your brain down. So we're trying to put ourselves, we're trying to put ourselves into situations that make us anxious, right? Like getting chased by a lion would make me anxious. I'm never going to put myself in that situation. But speaking about life situations, midlife situations, social situations is a lot of the time. Yeah, work, school, studying, friends, social events, walking into a gym, walking into a bar, a lot of those things, right? The only way you're ever going to get used to that is to continue doing it, right? And you're not going to die from any of those situations. All right, and remember, it's your brain. Your brain is very clever, by the way, but it's also very good at keeping you safe. But I also want you to think about your brain is more like it's like a smoke alarm, right? So it doesn't have time to assess the full situation. So just say you set the smoke alarm off in your house, right? And so there's smoke and the smoke alarm goes off, right? So that smoke alarm just assumes that there's a fire, right? And you're going to die, whereas it's not. And I'm not slagging off the smoke alarm because it's doing exactly what it's meant to do. But it doesn't have time, or it doesn't know, to assess the whole situation. So if you put yourself in that situation that you're scared of, climbing up a ladder, up a tree, right, your brain's going to be like a wee smoke alarm going, oh my God, you're going to die, get out of here, oh my God, woo, 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 right? Whereas in fact, you're actually not going to die. You're clipping into a harness for a start, right? You're not going to die. So brain, smoke alarm. Yeah, think about that. So it's that instant reaction of fear and that instant fuck this, by the way, that we need to try and give ourselves time to think about it, to talk it through if necessary, to journal, to write stuff down, and to get a bit of perspective on that situation. Yeah? And also, midlife anxiety, by the way, is also quite normal. If you think that you are the only one that's got it, I speak to my ladies about this all the time. My clients, my online clients, I've had chats with them about anxiety. My on fire clients, my group coaching, my midlife reset one-to-one coaching, and my ladies at Lift, right? We have all had conversations about anxiety. So you'll instantly want to escape the situation, right? So whether it's a social situation, the supermarket, a confined space, when the anxiety hits about the situation that you're in, right, you will actually just want to walk away. But it's not always the best thing to do. Providing you're not in any danger, it's not necessarily the best thing to do. You will try and avoid that situation as soon as you've been invited. So just say, for example, you've been invited out to dinner and you're a bit anxious about it because you don't really want to talk to anybody, and you're dieting, you're on fat loss, so you're slightly concerned that you're not going to know what to eat and you might get fat by having a meal out. All right, so you'll just say no straight away. Right, but think about all the things that you're missing out on. You're missing out on nice food, which I get in this moment in time, you wouldn't be thinking about that because all you're thinking about is the anxiousness and the bad decisions. And you never, the bad decisions. You'll never understand. You don't understand at the moment that if you practice this situation, you will get to the stage that you will be totally comfortable speaking to other people. You'll be totally comfortable in yourself deciding whether you're going to drink alcohol or whether you're not going to drink alcohol. And you'll have enough knowledge to be able to make the healthier choice that suits you so that you can still go out and have fun and not feel deprived. But at the moment, you're just going to be like, no. And then that's you. You've just taken yourself out of that situation, so there's no anxiety. So what's the problem? You're not living. That's the problem. Yeah. We might do like compensatory strategies. So it might go the exact opposite way. So just say you get a fear of being ill. Just say you had a really bad illness when you were younger, right? So, and it was like the worst time of your life, which is perfectly understandable. So the opposite of that is that you could turn into somebody that shows slight signs of OCD, like your cleanliness and your hand washing and stuff. And again, you would do that to make sure that you didn't get sick again, which again is perfectly understandable because it was the worst time of your life. But that brings its own issues and its own time-consuming, brain-wise problems as well. So we don't want to do that. Definitely not. Sometimes we can seek reassurance, right? So let's go back to the go ape thing, right? And I'll be like, oh my God, I'm actually going to die. I don't want to do this. And I'll turn to my pal and I'll say, well, what will you tell? Am I going to be okay? Will you tell me that I'm going to be okay? Right now, my pal loves me. She thinks I'm amazing, right? And she doesn't want to hurt me and she doesn't want to disappoint me. So of course she's going to tell me that I'm going to be okay. So then I believe her. Chances are I'm going to be okay, but she's just, do you know what I mean? It's just she's never going to say to me, no, you're going to die, when you actually could. So sometimes that's not necessarily dealing with the problem. All you're doing is shifting the responsibility to somebody else. Well, she said, or well, he said, and that's not good. All right. So human nature, when we feel anxious about something, a response is to avoid it. That is perfectly normal. But avoidance will maintain your anxiety. It will never get you used to being in that situation, ever. And if you're never in that situation, your anxiety is going to get worse and worse and worse, and it's going to get less out of perspective. I'm sure there's a word that would sum up that whole sentence and I can't think what it is, but all right. Just telling yourself that you don't need to be anxious and it's a safe situation. Let's go back to the social events, all right? You don't want to go out because you don't want to see anybody, you're anxious, etc., etc., right? You're not going to, you don't know what food to eat because you don't want to get fat because you believe that going on a meal out is going to get fat. And then like, how are you going to manage that without alcohol because you've never been out before without alcohol? So when you have alcohol, then you tend to eat shit. So let's just like not put yourself in that situation. So constantly thinking that through, right, will never get you into that situation, because you'll never think logically about it, and you'll never think about all the positives that could come out of it. All you'll think about is, you can't do this because you've not had a drink and you don't know what food to eat, and you're going to get fat, and then you're going to talk to people, and then what if you do have a drink? You might make a tit yourself, so you're just not going to go. Right, so you're never going to see the positive sides until you experience that situation. Right, now you'll experience that situation, so just say you actually grow the balls and go and do that situation. Right, when you come out the other end of that and realise that you didn't die, you didn't embarrass yourself, you didn't make a tit of yourself, get like a steak pie and a couple of chips, and the scales were a couple of pounds heavier the next day, but do you know what? The day after that, the scales are dropped back down again. So in theory, you had nothing to worry about. So it's not until you experience that situation and realise that it wasn't a near-death experience that you're going to see the positives. If you're just going to try and think about it, you're never going to see the positives. You have to experience it. It's the way that your brain learns. Yeah. Your brain, on the other hand, will also take a lot of convincing, but this is why we have, and I've said this before in one of my posts as well, right? I am exactly the same as you. Whatever fears, whatever anxieties you have, I have them, or I've had them. I have only learned to quieten that voice down more than you have. That is the only difference. Yeah? Feel the fear and do it anyway. I kid you not. All right. How to calm anxiety right now. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say get off your arse and go for a walk. Movement. Absolutely movement. All right. Sitting down and constantly thinking about the situation that you're anxious about, guess what that's going to do? It's going to make you more anxious. True story. Yeah, you need to calm your breathing down. Alright, so in through the nose, out through the mouth. Definitely. Box breathing, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 in, 1, 2, 3, 4 out, while you're fully expanding your lungs and your tummy. Alright, you need to sort your breathing out, because that, I promise you, that will be the first thing that goes if you're just about to go into that situation. Alright, slow deep breaths. Definitely. But I also need you to remember, so we're going to think about things logically, right? And we're going to think about all the anxiety in your body, right? And in your brain about this situation that we're talking about, right? They're not facts. They're your perceptions, or they're thoughts and opinions that you have accrued from everybody else and from worry. And again, you're never going to put those to bed till you actually get your arse into that situation. So if we're anxious about a situation, right, so just say I was walking into a pub to meet some work colleagues that I'd only spent an hour with or whatever before, right? So they'd asked me to go out for a couple of drinks and something to eat. So if I didn't want to do this and I was anxious about this, right, there's no facts that I can base it on, because I don't know them. I've never done it before. I've never been out drinking with them before. I've never been out for dinner with them before, and I've literally met them for an hour. So I've never really worked with them before as well. So I don't know them. So none of these thoughts that I'm having are based on fact. None of them. Absolutely not. They're based on my best guesses or worst guesses, as in instant conclusions that I've drawn from meeting them for an hour, or stories, or, this is probably worse, I'm basing them on memories from a previous situation that I've been in that was nothing to do with these people. And this is, again, this is how our brain works. Of course it is. This is how we gain experience. It's all in our brain, and it's all about past experiences, and it's all about our life. It's like coming out, for those of you that follow me, I had a first marriage and it was absolutely shite. There was emotional abuse. It was awful. And for me, when I met Cal, obviously I automatically assumed, wrongly, obviously, that I was going to hit the same problems that I had in my first marriage. Of course I wasn't, because Cal's not the guy that I was married to first. Of course he's not. But your brain just remembers, and then it just assumes. And then this is why we don't do things, because it's not cool. So, yeah, we have biased thoughts. Remember, confirmation bias. We will automatically be drawn to the things that we assume, definitely, that we know, all right? We might even be a bit, and also again, midlife women, not that we dramatise anything, but catastrophising. Would we maybe do that? I think we probably actually maybe would. I certainly would as well. It's when your mind jumps to the worst case scenario. So the little scale that I have with my clients, posted it on my stories the other day, all right, and if they're asking me whether they should do something, or they're asking me what my thoughts are, like for example, should I wear a bikini on holiday? Right, I want you to remember 3 things. Are you going to die? No. Is somebody else going to die? No. Are you being cunty? No. Well, you should fucking do it then. Because that is literally the 3 worst things, right? You could die, you could kill somebody, or you could be cunty to somebody. And there's no real need to do any of those 3 things. So that's the scale I want you to start thinking about, all right? So you're going out socialising. Are you going to die? No. Somebody else going to die? No. Are you going to be mean and cunty to people? No, of course you're not, because you're a nice person, because most human beings are. So you should just do it. Feel the fear and do it anyway, all right? Personalising is another thing that we do. So we take all this information in the world that everybody else has given us, that we've read, oh Jesus Christ, that we've Googled. Do you know that you're like, every time you Google something, you're literally a step away from death, right? Don't Google stuff. It's not cool, right? I have a sore hip. Am I going to die? Oh yes, you have hip cancer. All right, just don't do it. Absolutely do not do it. Yes, I did do that, by the way, a long time ago, but just don't do it. So we take all of that stuff and we make it personal to us. So we take in everybody else's experiences, usually bad ones, right? And then we make it about, well, if it happened to them, it could happen to me. Chances are it's probably not. And also chances are there are at least 100 squillion other alternatives, nice alternatives, that could actually happen. So don't make everything all about you. I'm laughing because like, it's always about you. Don't make everything all about you, all right? It's not cool, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be, right? Also, this is a bit like confirmation bias, right? So if we are scared of something, we'll go back to the height thing, right? Oh my God, I'm scared of heights. Like, how do you get over a fear of heights? If I Google, which obviously I wouldn't do because I've just told you not to do it, but if I Google how to get over a fear of heights, right, there will be a wee blurb that comes up to tell me what I should be doing, right? I should be dealing with the situation, blah, 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 right? But there'll also be a whole load of other shite enhancing the fact that I'm scared of heights, right? So when I read that whole screen, I'm going to totally disregard everything that tells me what I should do to get over my fear of heights, because it's basically going to tell me to go up high, right? And all I'm going to do is remember all the stuff that confirms the bias that I already have, as in, don't do it. So I want you to remember this also. Yes, our brain is very, very, very clever. Another thing that we might do is we might generalize. Easy. We might generalize. So what we'll do is we'll take one experience. So just say, oh, let's talk about my first marriage. Let's say my first marriage was shit. Oh yeah, it was. Right. So what am I going to do? Of course I'm going to take that experience and I'm going to apply it to every other single marriage. I'm not having any more marriages, by the way. I'm married to Cal. This is it. Second time. Sorted. But do you know what I mean? So just say you go out for a meal with friends, right? And you fall out with one of them and it's shit. And then the next time you go out or you're asked out with friends, you take that first situation and you were like, oh my God, that was an actual nightmare. And then you apply it to all said situations that might actually be a smidge similar, and that stops you doing that. Whereas in fact, chances of that happening again are pretty slim. So we overgeneralize. So we take one experience and we apply it to all future experiences. That's not cool. That's like assuming, just say you met one person with blonde hair and they were cunty. That's like you assuming that every single person with blonde hair is cunty, right? You wouldn't do that. So don't do it with situations neither. Lastly, labelling. This grinds my gears. I have spoken about this before, right? There is a massive thing in this world at the moment, and has been for a few years now, about labelling people, situations, and putting them in boxes, right? And it ties me into the phrase of, right, good people can do bad things, all right? Good people can do bad things. That doesn't make them bad people. It doesn't make you a bad person. If you were bad once, right, and I'll let you figure out your level of badness. If you were bad once, right, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. If you suffer from anxiety in one period of your life, it does not mean you're an anxious person. The last 2 years I have had anxiety, right? I would still say I am not an anxious person. Definitely. So please do not be quick to label yourself, because guess what we do? We start to believe it. Of course we do. It's like, again, it goes back to, if, again, a bit of psychology, if somebody tells you something often enough, you will start to believe it. Let's go back to the bad marriage, all right? If your husband tells you something often enough, like, oh, you're far too loud, you're not a nice person, you're fat, right? If that person tells you that often enough, you will start to believe that. You will start to believe it. So please do not label yourself. Just because you're having an anxious period does not mean you're an anxious person. Do not think about the last 2 years. So if I was saying that, right, the last 2 years of my life, I have had anxiety. So from age 50 to 52, right, up until I was 50, I don't think I'd ever had one bit of anxiety in my life. Well, maybe other than my shitty marriage. But do you know what I mean? So I'm disregarding 50 years of being not anxiety-like, and I'm now labelling myself as an anxiety type person. No, just don't do it. Just don't do it, all right? Right, so I'm going to give you some journaling prompts as well, my lovelies, all right? Same as last time. If you want them, just find me on the socials. Coach Caris under Facebook and... No, sorry. I'm under Coach Caris on Facebook and Instagram. Drop me a wee message and I'll send you some... I'll send you some journaling tips. Sorry, 27 minutes. It's been a long chat. So we want to fact check is basically what to, so we don't want to do any of that stuff. Like, we don't want to label ourselves. We don't want to take one situation and apply what happened to every other potential situation. We don't want to do that. We want facts. We want facts. I want you to write down the anxious thought. What is it what is it you are anxious about? All right. Draw a line down the centre of the page and make 2 columns. So, kid on, you were a wee lawyer, right? And you're weighing up the facts. And I want you to write down on one side all of the evidence that the thought is a true fact. A fact, right? It only counts if it would stand up in court. In the second column, I want you to write down all the thoughts that's not a fact. That's probably all your thoughts, to be fair. All right, but let's not assume. Yeah? Then you'll be able to see. So if the not facts outweigh the facts, obviously, you need to go and do it. If the facts do outweigh the not facts, you're probably getting chased down the street by a lion and you're going to die. So let's not do that, all right? But it's about fact checking. It's the only way, one of the only way your brain will learn, yeah, not to dramatise stuff, because we do dramatise stuff, right? And the next couple of things we want to speak about and we want to focus on is we want to change our self-talk. So we want to tell ourselves that we can do pretty much anything that we want to do. I tell my clients this all the time, all right? The reason that we don't do things is because of everything that I've just spoken about. It's because we've got anxiety about them. It's because we've got a fear about them. And it's because we've got confirmation bias. So everything that we read about, we believe backs up our thoughts and fears, whereas it doesn't. We just disregard all the stuff that doesn't back it up, confirmation bias. All right, and then we label ourselves and we tell ourselves that we're this, and this type of person, and then we just accept it, right? That's bollocks, especially midlife. We don't want to do that. So we want self-talk. We want good self-talk, positive self-talk, that we can actually do anything that we want to, right? Yous are midlife ladies. Yous are fucking amazing. Yous have got careers. You've maybe had bairns. You've got relationships. You've got friends. You've got family. You can do anything you want to. But you need to believe, and you need to dip your toe in the water, and you need to try it. So I want you to think about positive self-talk. If you're struggling with positive self-talk, I want you to think about me sitting on your shoulder. I'm your cheerleader, remember? I'm telling you, sitting on your shoulder, whispering in your ear how awesome you are, how you can do anything. Yes, it might take practice, but you can still do it. The other thing I want you to do is think about reframing, right? So this is quite massive as well at the moment. There's actually a lot out there. Is if you can't change a situation, you need to change your thoughts towards it. All right, so just say I was going to go ape and I couldn't change the situation, so I don't know. I was going to say something had a gun to my head and was making me do go ape. I don't think that would help with my anxiety, to be fair. But if you know that you have to go on this works night out, right? You're anxious about it. You don't know the people very well. You don't really want to drink, but you can't envisage you being in a social situation with these people without a drink. But it's a work thing, etc., etc. You don't know what the food's going to be. You don't know if is there going to be nibbles? Is there going to be canapes? Is it going to be a full-blown meal? You don't know what to wear. You're not comfortable with how you look in your body. Nothing in your wardrobe fits you, right? I understand that anxiety. That can actually be horrific. But if you need to go to that situation and you need to be there, then you need to change your thoughts towards it. And the only way that you're going to do that is by just doing exactly what I've said, by writing stuff down, by thinking positive thoughts, by just accepting the fact that see where you are just now. That's okay. It's okay to be a work in progress. 100% okay. If you are working on yourself, you are still ahead of everybody that's sitting on the sofa scrolling on Instagram. If you are working on yourself, then you realise that you maybe need to make some changes to experience life to the fullest. You are still way ahead of everybody else that's clueless. It's only a good thing. If you are aware of your fears and your anxiety and you want to change them, you are leaps and bounds ahead of most people. That can only be a good thing. So reframing, you need to think about reframing the situation, accepting that you need to get yourself into that situation, telling yourself the positives about the situation, and telling yourself the positives about you. Like, you can literally do anything that you want to, but you have to believe it, right? And finally, to finish up, I want you to remember the scale that I work with my clients. Are you going to die? No. Is somebody else going to die? No. Are you being cunty? No. Well, you should fucking do it then. Speak to you all soon, my lovelies. Bye.